we now answer the question that's been out there since the beginning of this hour. What weather event have our experts chosen as the single most awesome storm of the century? Their answer may surprise you. Let's listen to their discussion.
I'd go with the Labor Day first, then that 74 outbreak, then the, quote, storm of the century. That's my choice.
The Weather Channel has called this the storm of the century so that not only the public, but any meteorologist out there will look at it and say, okay, well, I might quibble with this or that, but I can see why they did that, and that's a reasonable assessment.
If you plot the pressures there relative to other hurricanes in the Atlantic Basin, it's way out there.
And it's still the lowest pressure ever observed in the United States.
Yep.
And it wiped out completely a railroad forever.
It's the most, an 892 pressure is what it did to the Keys, even though it didn't have any particular effect, if I'm not mistaken, upon Key West or Miami.
No, that didn't get it.
But it was still just unbelievable what it did.
And maybe the Weather Channel can come up with something that challenges us, show us something we didn't know that would knock our socks off.
Since weather records have been kept, we've only seen 2 Category 5 hurricanes make a United States landfall. One is Hurricane Camille, which made a landfall near Pass Christian, Mississippi on August 17, 1969. Camille brought with it devastating winds and storm surge. Wind gusts were measured up to 175 miles per hour. The surge at Pass Christian was more than 24 feet, and the rains from Camille brought terrible flash floods in Virginia. In all, the death toll from Camille was 256 lives. The only other Category 5 hurricane to make a U.S. landfall hit the Florida Keys in 1935, and it set a record for the lowest air pressure ever recorded. Here now is the Labor Day hurricane of 1935.
Powerful hurricane that we ever experienced.
There have only been 2 Category 5s on the U.S. coastline, Camille and the 1935 hurricane.
South Florida is used to its share of hurricanes. We all remember Andrew and its impact on the area in 1992. But over half a century ago, another hurricane wreaked havoc on an ill-prepared population along this vulnerable coastal terrain. And despite the relatively limited area affected, the staggering intensity of this meteorological event ranks the Labor Day hurricane of 1935 as the #1 storm of the century.
The Florida Keys are very low-lying islands, and they can be inundated very easily by rising water associated with hurricane.
The 35 hurricane hit a relatively unpopulated area, yet it was still the 5th deadliest hurricane on record.
It was only about 3 or 4 days away from landfall in Florida when it first began to form, and then it moved pretty much straight westward into the Florida Keys.
It ran over Andros Island, and there were some reports from Andros that they had been hit by a hurricane, and some people in the Keys knew that that had happened. But most of the people were unaware that a hurricane of that intensity was coming. It intensified between Andros Island and the Florida Keys before it hit.
Now, there were a lot of veterans there. They had them on a work project, World War I, about 700 veterans.
The country was in the midst of the Great Depression. Hundreds of out-of-work veterans had been sent to the Florida Keys by the U.S. government to complete an ambitious road project. Ill-prepared for life in the mangrove swamps, they were housed in flimsy barracks and basically left to fend for themselves. The veterans, unaccustomed to reading the signs of an impending hurricane, realized too late the need to evacuate. Their only hope to avoid its fury lay in making it to the overseas railroad in time.
They backed the train down to try to get the workers out, and they loaded a lot of people up in the train cars, and the storm hit before they were able to get back to Miami, to the mainland.
They were trying to load veterans and residents as well to bring them out of that area. And they had only been doing this about 5 minutes when the cars were all swamped by the storm surge. One of the veterans who survived the storm somehow, he didn't know how he did because he was actually knocked out. But when he came to, the sand was being blown about so hard that it was emitting sparks. He said that he thought he had died and gone to hell when he saw that fire. Wind gusts were estimated about 200 miles an hour. We know the barometric pressure was 892 millibars, the lowest ever observed here in the United States.
Can you imagine 200-mile-per-hour wind gusts, trying to stand in that? Virtually impossible. Flying debris, sand blowing.
We had a reading from a barometer. The person that got that barometer actually saved himself by climbing up into a tree. And he had the barometer with him, and he was the one that measured the pressure for us and was able to tell us what it was.
The Labor Day hurricane of 1935 was an event that altered science's understanding of meteorological proportion. It endures to this day as a symbol of nature's power and ferocity, packed into an intensely focused form. Taking hundreds of lives and resulting in millions of dollars in property damage, it was truly a devastating phenomenon. Yet we can only guess at how much worse the toll might have been had it struck less than 100 miles north in densely populated Miami. Or what horror a hurricane of this strength, much more intense than even Andrew, could cause today along the highly developed South Florida coast.
The 35 hurricane was very special because it had extremely low pressure and was very small spatially, so that the combination of that low pressure and the small size produced very, very strong winds, and it really redefined our upper limit for landfalling hurricanes in the United States.
Let's now recap our top 5 storms of the century, as chosen by the Weather Channel staff of experts. Number 5 is the 1938 New England hurricane. The Galveston hurricane of 1900 is number 4. Number 3 is the 1993 superstorm. Second is the 1974 super outbreak of tornadoes. And our number 1 storm of the century is the 1935 Labor Day hurricane. No one can tell what the next century has in store for us, but thanks in part to these terrible disasters, we are better prepared to forecast and warn you of the next potential storm of the century. I'm Marshall Seese. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned for your local weather, coming up after the break.